Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the premiere episode of Apologetics. My name is Nicholas Shakwesa, and I will be your host for this evening. Our main subject for tonight's episode is whether omission is a special sin. But before we get to that, I would like to talk to you a little bit about what an apologetic is. An apologetic is a Christian who speaks formally to a group of oppositions, meeting their needs of curiosity and inquisitiveness of religious matters. These apologetics are trained in using the tools needed to guide people towards the truth. They do this using persuasive speech. Apologetics have no motivation but to inform the people of their perspective. It is not to try and shut the competition down. Now let's get to the main subject of tonight's episode. Omission was considered a sin when it was first committed by the Apostle Peter, when he denied being a disciple of Christ. It is commonly seen today when people see something done wrong and they do nothing about it, much like the priest and the Levite during the story of the Good Samaritan. Our first objection of the night is sin of omission is not a special sin because every sin is either original, not contracted through original sin, or it's actual. There is no action that caused this sin. Next, every sin must be voluntary. As for omission, it is not always voluntarily committed. A soldier is restrained from helping an enemy during battle, and it is sometimes necessary. A priest is restrained from reporting a murder during confession. Therefore, omission cannot be a special sin. And finally, every special sin is opposed to special virtue, which is impossible for omission because the good of any virtue can be omitted, and because justice requires an act. Omission is not doing something. The reply to these are, omission is a special sin because it is an actual sin. Omitting to do something is still technically doing something wrong. Next, as well, nobody is bound to impossibilities. A soldier could help an enemy during battle, just as a Samaritan helped the Jew during the story of the Good Samaritan. As well, while a priest may be technically bound to keep secrecy during confession, but if this information could help save lives, would it not be useful and good to reveal this information despite the consequences? An omission is opposed to justice because it is the not doing something good in virtue. Finally, a good action requires more for it to be seen as good and merits recognition than evil does for it to be recognized as bad. So, to merit good requires an act. Therefore, omission does not. Finally, while omission is not doing anything, it is still technically doing something, omitting. While my opinion is that omission is a special sin, because there are certain loopholes in the system, where it could be seen as not special, original, or actual, another point can be made that turns the decision around completely. Not doing something is still doing something wrong. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Apologetics. Once again, my name is Nicholas Michael Yakwesa, and I was your host, and please tune in next week for another episode of The Apologetics. Thank you.